Welcome to a new video related to GCSE Spanish series. This particular video is regarding both foundation and high tier because in this video I'm going to show you how to answer the 90 words task. I'm going to be explaining what you should be putting in that 90 words task to get the highest grade, and also I'm going to explain how this task is going to be marked by your examiners. This particular task is related to AQA board for GCSE's Spanish. So what the task looks like. So you'll have a 90 words text to write about. You can write 4 small paragraphs because in this particular text what the task looks like. 3, 2, 1. What the task looks like. So the 90 words paragraph, you are going to be given this particular task to be completed in both foundation and higher. For foundation, this will be the last task you will need to be completing on the paper. For higher will be literally the first task you need to be completing on the writing paper. So this is how it looks like. So you need to write, for example, escribes un blog in this situation para una página web española, for a Spanish web page, sobre tus vacaciones. So you will need to write about your holidays. Remember that when you will be writing down the word tus from this part, is going to become mis. Okay? So what do we need to mention? La importancia que tiene para ti ir de vacaciones. The importance it has for you to go on holidays. ¿Cómo fue el viaje que hiciste el año pasado? What was the journey like that you've made last year? Las ventajas y las desventajas de una vacación en el extranjero. The advantages and disadvantages of a holiday abroad. ¿Cómo decidirás dónde pasar tus próximas vacaciones? How do you decide where to spend your next holidays? You need to write about 90 words. Escribe aproximadamente 90 palabras en español, in Spanish. Responde a todos los aspectos de la pregunta. You need to answer all the aspects of the question, so you don't have to miss any of these bullet points. Let's see what tenses we need to be using in each bullet point. So the importance that holidays have got for you, this will be present tense. ¿Cómo fue el viaje? How was your journey? So this is going to be preterite tense or past tense. The advantages and the disadvantages of a holiday abroad, which will be present tense again. And how will you decide will refer to future tense regarding future holidays, yeah? How to spend your next holidays. This is an example. And if you are going to have a look here on this side, I have got the tenses that I talked to you about. Here I have got the Spanish and this is the English translation, and I have got a couple of expressions that I've written in different colors. For example, present tense is going to be in blue, preterite is going to be in green, present tense in blue again, and future in purple. And I am going to explain. So literally, if you are going to learn these expressions written in these colors, you would be able to do all your 90 words paragraph perfectly, and you will have everything implemented there to get the highest grade, really. So, tengo que admitir que ir de vacaciones es muy importante porque puedo descansar. I have to admit that Going on holidays is very important because I can rest. Suelo ir a la playa y leer un buen libro. I usually go to the beach and I read a book, a good book. Now in preterite, if we'll go back to the task, the word says, how was your holiday? What did you do on holiday um, last year? So that means you need to start with this particular word, time phrase, el año pasado. El año pasado, and then you put decidí de, which translates through I decided, decidí ir de vacaciones. I decided to go on holidays a Sevilla, to Seville, y lo pasé muy bien, and I spent a good time. Me encantó, so me encanta is I love. Me encantó, I loved. Sacar fotos, pero no me gustó el tiempo. I love to take pictures, but I did not like the weather, the time, yeah? Present tense, you were supposed to be writing about advantages and disadvantages. So I would recommend you to start with que yo sepa, which translates to as far as I know. Lo bueno, the good thing, es que se puede aprender otro idioma, is that you could learn another language. Lo malo es que, the bad thing is, a veces el viaje en avión puede ser muy largo. Sometimes the air travel or the traveling by plane can be very long. In future, si tuviera que escoger para mis próximas vacaciones, so if I had to choose for my next holidays, me gustaría ir a los Estados Unidos porque quiero visitar Nueva York. I would like to go to United States because I want to visit New York. So very quickly, let's see how we could be tackling this task. We are going to go through it together and I'm going to explain to you what you will need to be putting in your work to be getting the best grade. So first of all, you need to be checking your tenses to see what tense is it and to see how you are going to start your sentences by looking for some time phrases. For example, ayer, which is yesterday, esta noche, which is tonight. So let's go to the first one. Lo que te gusta, so the thing you like, comer en el colegio, to eat at school. So things you normally like to eat at school, that refers to present tense, yeah? Food that you like. Lo que comiste ayer, the thing that you ate yesterday. So that means you should be starting with this particular word when you are going to be describing your work. So, preterite, food you ate yesterday. Tu opinión de comer sanamente. Your opinion about eating healthy. So, again, here you should be giving your opinion, things related to advantages, disadvantages, maybe. So, this would be your present tense. And the last one says, lo que vas a comer en casa esta noche. The thing you are going to eat at home tonight. So that is referring, of course, the future tense, food you will eat later tonight at home, yeah? So, as in the previous example, I said present tense I put in blue, past tense in green, again present tense about your opinions, and what you'll be eating is going to be future work conditional, anything referring to future. So in your first bullet point, when you talk about present tense, you could always start with tengo que admitir que, which translates through I have to admit that, because always the first bullet point is going to be related to something you normally like to do. For where do you normally go on holidays? What do you normally eat? What do you normally do on your free time? What do you normally I don't know. What do you normally study at school? What do you normally do after school? So you will always be asked things like this in the first bullet point. So you could easily start with, I have to admit that I like to do something, okay? So, tengo que admitir que me gusta, and the good thing is, when you'll be using this expression, you don't need to be using anything else than the verb in the infinitive. That means it has to finish in R, or ir. And then you need to drop your reason, porque es, and do not forget that you will need to be using adjectives, and every time you will put an adjective, use an intensifier. The intensifier is very, which is muy, quite, which is bastante, un poco, which is a bit, or demasiado, which is too something, yeah? So, for example, demasiado interesante, too interesting. And then, why not drop something about someone else? Pero mi madre dice que no es importante. But my mom says that it is not important, or imprescindible, which is a very elevated word to say important. And then drop your infinitive verb, because it's not important to do something. The second bullet point, as I said, you need to be very careful and look for this time phrase related to past. So it could be yesterday, or it could be la semana pasada, which is last week, el verano pasado, last summer, or any other these sort of expressions. So that is the word you should be starting your second bullet point. So in this case, you'll start with ayer, then you need to put decidí followed by an infinitive. Decidí comer. So yesterday I decided to eat. And then because it was, and then you put your intensifiers and adjectives, because it was demasiado interesante, for example. But in your exam, refuse to repeat yourself. So do not use interesante and then use interesante again. So change the adjectives all the time. They do not like repetition, so you will need to show that you actually know more adjectives, not only interesante. Porque fue sabroso. Sabroso means delicious, or delicioso. Yeah? The third bullet point, where you need to give your opinions, you could start with your opinion, which will be que yo sepa. Lo bueno, lo malo, the good, the bad, yeah, the good thing or the bad thing is, and you will be putting what's the good and the bad thing related to something. Or then you could say, según mi madre, according to my mother, you could add about someone else as well. And the very last one, what you are going to eat at home tonight. So you will have to start with this future expression. So you start with esta noche and you put si tuviera la oportunidad, if I had a chance, okay? Or if it sounds too ridiculous, you could say si tuviera que escoger, if I had to choose. Okay, so if you had to choose what sort of food you'll be given tonight, me gustaría, I would like, and then you drop a verb in the infinitive. So what I've created here, I like to call it a skeleton. That means you do not have to think about verbs in present, past, future, and so on. You will always have to put the verb in the infinitive. Then when you have finished, you will just need to go and count how many words you've written so far. So you basically should have around 23 words per each bullet point to achieve your 90 words text. If you still do not have your 90 words, you could drop another sentence like siempre querido, which translates through I have always wanted, and then you need to put a verb in the infinitive and explain what happens there. I have always wanted to eat paella porque es deliciosa, because it is delicious, yeah? How is it? Also, do not forget to use interjections. So what are those? When you say, for example, fíjate, which is imagine, or qué bonito, qué delicioso, qué rollo, which is what a nuisance, or Estoy harto. Estoy harta. Harto for masculine, harta for feminine, which translates to I had enough. How is it marked? 3, 2, 1. How is it marked? So you are going to have 16 marks to go through, and we shall go through content now. So for content, you are going to get up to 10 points, and you've got 5 levels here. So if you'll be sitting, I don't know, foundation, for example, if you'll be getting here, you'll be having grade 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1 and 0. So as content, you should have very good response covering all aspects of the task. So keep in mind, all aspects of the task have to be done. Communication is clear and a lot of information is conveyed. So very clear sentences. Do not try to make it up that very moment. Try to have some clear vocabulary in your mind what you'll need to be putting down. Opinions are expressed as well. Okay? So, and I said at least 2 opinions with reasons. 7, 8 points. There is a good response covering all aspects of task, but communication is mostly clear. That means you are making some mistakes there. Your sentences are not as clear as they should, but perhaps with occasional lapses, mistakes. Quite a lot of information is conveyed. Opinions are expressed as well. A reasonable response. That means you are missing one of the bullet points, or you believe you answered all of them, but one of the bullet points the answer for one of the bullet points doesn't make reference to what you were asked to write about. So that being said, that refers to a reasonable response, and it's covering almost all the aspects of the tasks. Communication is generally clear, but there are likely to be lapses, and some information is conveyed, and one opinion is expressed only. Basic response, covering some aspects of the tasks. Communication is sometimes clear, but there are instances where messages break down, little information is conveyed, an opinion is expressed, and a limited response where you normally answer just one bullet point. Communication is often not clear, and there may be frequent instances where messages break down, very little information is conveyed, and there may be no opinions expressed. So very low answer. Here, candidates write about 90 words in total, about 4 different bullet points. All bullet points must be covered, but there is no need for equal coverage of the bullets. A minimum number of bullet points must be covered for the award of marks for content as follows: 7 to 10 marks if you covered 4 bullet points, 5, 6 marks if you covered only 3 bullet points, 3, 4 marks for 2 bullet points, and 1, 2 marks for 1 bullet point. The information that the candidate gives must be clear. If what is written is unclear, then this will have a bearing the mark for content. The candidate may convey information in relation to all 4 bullet points, but lapses in clarity or lack of clarity may mean that a mark lower than 9 or 10 is appropriate. The more lapses in clarity that there are, the lower the mark is likely to be. All of the information that a candidate attempts to give in relation to a particular bullet point may be unintelligible, in which case that bullet point will not have been covered, meaning that the maximum mark will be 6. The bands refer to the amount of information that is conveyed as follows: 9 to 10 a lot, quite a lot for 7, 8, some for 5, 6, little for 3, 4, and very little for 1, 2 points. The candidate must give opinions in order to have access to certain marks as follows: 7, 10 points for 2 opinions, 3, 6 for 1, and this is not an automatic mark, and the other criteria within a particular band must be met. If there is no opinion, the maximum mark is 2. An opinion may be expressed simply, for example, I like going shopping. Any positive or negative adjective, like interesting, boring, is classed as an opinion. A neutral or descriptive adjective is only classed as an opinion if it is preceded by something like I think that, for example, I think that my town is big. A major error is one which seriously affects communication. A mark 0 for content automatically results in a mark of 0 for quality of language. Apart from that, the content mark does not limit the mark for quality of language. Talking about quality of language, you'll be getting 6 points here. A variety of appropriate vocabulary is used, complex structure and sentences are attempted. There are references to 3-time phrases, which are largely successful. Errors are mainly minor here. Some more serious errors may occur, but particularly in complex structures and sentences, but the intent and meaning is nearly always clear. The style and register are appropriate. Some variety of appropriate vocabulary is used. There may be some attempt at complex structures and sentences. There are references to at least 2 different time phrases, although these may not always be successful. There may be some major errors and more frequent minor errors, but overall the response is more accurate than inaccurate and the intended meaning is usually clear. The style and register may not always be appropriate. The range of vocabulary may be narrow, repetitive, and/or inappropriate to the needs of the task. Sentences are mainly short and simple or may not be properly constructed. There may be frequent major and minor errors, little or no awareness of style and register. The language produced does not meet the standard required for level 1 at this tier for 0 points. Each band has 5 stands. Variety of vocabulary, so you should put different words, do not repeat yourself. Complexity of structures and sentences, so you could use I have to admit that, tengo que admitir que, or suelo ir, which is I normally go, so you've got a very good complexity of structures there. References to time phrases, yeah, so you should be putting, for example, in the future I would like to, so you should be using those time phrases that are mentioned as explained earlier. Accuracy of the language and style and register. In order to score in the band 5-6, there must be references to all 3 time phrases, past, present, and future, as required by the task. For the 3-4 band, there must be reference to at least 2 time phrases. Time frames. Reference to a particular time frame may be demonstrated with one example. The verb used to refer to a particular time frame needs to be totally correct, provided the message is clear. These marks are not awarded automatically, and the other criteria in the band are equally important. Notice that references are to time frames, not tenses. So, for example, the present tense usage in the following sentence is a reference to a future time frame. I'm going to the concert next week. Complexity may be shown in some of the following ways: different tenses, intensifiers, which I've mentioned them at the beginning of this video, time markers, Connectives, subordinate clauses like if, or if something is going to happen, or if I had to choose, if I had the time, if I had the money, and infinitive constructions. So any of the constructions that you could use that normally are followed by an infinitive. For example, suelo ir. I usually go. Prefiero, and then you need to put an infinitive. Odio, me gusta, no me gusta, and so on. These would be the infinitive constructions, and there is no requirement for the candidates to present their piece of writing in a particular way because of the context. Example, if you are required to write a blog or an email, it does not need to look like a blog or an email. It is the content which is to be marked.